John chapter 15. Let's go. I am the true vine, and the Father is the gardener. So, true vine, another I am statement of Jesus here. The Father is the gardener, quite literally, because it says in Genesis that he planted a garden in Eden. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit. Well, every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes. Cuts off. Well, number one, they're walking to the Garden of Gethsemane. And what have we said before? A rabbi never teaches about something he can't point at. So probably they're walking through the city. There's a vine or a vineyard, and Jesus is pointing to it. He cuts off every branch of me that bears no fruit. Cuts off could better be translated lifts up. You see, if you have some grapes on a vine and they're touching the ground, those grapes are going to be bad. So you have to find a way to lift that vine up. I am not at all someone who knows things about vineyards. This is just what I've heard. You have to lift it up so the grapes aren't gross. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes. A better translation here, and it even has a footnote in my NIV, which isn't the best of footnotes, is he cleans. So that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean. This is probably why it's a better translation to say cleans. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. This has shades of Psalm 1. I'll just read it because I know I got it marked. And I was going to try to say it from memory, but I don't want to mess it up. Blessed is the one who does not walk in the step with the wicked, or stand in the way that sinners take, or sit in the company of mockers, but whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and who meditates on his law day and night. That person is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, whose leaf does not wither. Whatever they do prospers. Not so the wicked. They are like chaff that the wind blows away. Therefore the wicked will not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For the Lord watches over the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked leads to destruction. This is a good spot to talk about the word that is used for tree, vine, bush, anything that has like a woody type feel to it is the word eitz. It's the same word. The burning bush is an eitz. The trees in the garden are eitz. The vine, eitz. So you can kind of be interchangeable there. Now, why are we talking so much about vines? It might be because of a word that the Lord spoke way back in Ezekiel 15. So Ezekiel, I don't know how much y'all know about Ezekiel. This is around the Babylonian captivity time. But the heading above Ezekiel 15 is Jerusalem as a useless vine. The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, how is the wood of a vine different from that of a branch from any of the trees in the forest? Is wood ever taken from it to make anything useful? Do they make pegs from it to hang things on? And after it is thrown on the fire as fuel, and the fire burns both ends and chars the middle, is it then useful for anything? If it was not useful for anything when it was whole, how much less can it be made into something useful when the fire has burned it and charred? Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says, as I have given the wood of the vine among the trees of the forest as fuel for the fire, so I will treat the people living in Jerusalem. I will set my face against them. Although they have come out of the fire will yet consume them. And when I set my face against them, you will know that I am the Lord. I will make the land desolate because they have been unfaithful, declares the sovereign Lord. Thank you for that encouragement, Ezekiel. He also goes on in Ezekiel chapter 17 about an eagle that plants a vine with powerful wings, long feathers, and full of plumage of varying colors. This eagle came to Lebanon, taking hold of the top of a cedar, he broke off its topmost shoot and carried it away to the land of merchants, where he planted it in a city of traders. He took one of the seedlings of the land and put it in fertile soil. He planted it like a willow by abundant water. More shades of Psalm 1. And it sprouted and became a low spreading vine. So a cedar, a lot of the imagery for the Messiah is cedar trees. Planted it and it became a vine. Next to water. Right, a tree planted by streams of water. Its branches turned toward him, but its roots remained under it. So it became a vine and produced branches and put out leafy boughs. Yes. Let's continue. We'll go back to verse 5. I'm the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up, thrown into the fire, and burned. Ezekiel. If you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish and it will be done for you. Once again, the idea of bearing the name. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Now remain in my love. Remain in my love. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commands and remain in his love. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. Not I have told you this so you will go spread the gospel, or not I have told you this so that you will go to church every Sunday, or I have told you this so whatever. I have told you this that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Raising the bar. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. What Jesus is about to do. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends, for everything that I learned from the Father I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit, fruit that will last, so that whatever you ask in my name, the Father will give you. This is my command: love each other. This is a big deal. When a rabbi refers to his students as his peers, it means that the rabbi has given them everything he has to give. The only time that a rabbi can leave his students is when he has determined that his students have learned everything he has to teach. And that's what Jesus is saying. You are now my friends. You did not choose me, but I chose you. And this is super important too. And the way we've talked about the way that Hebrew society worked growing up, about how you'd go to Bet Torah, Bet Sefer, Bet Midrash, and then you would pick a rabbi that you wanted to study under. Jesus, instead of you coming to Jesus and saying, hey, I'd love to study under you, Jesus showed up to most of his disciples and said, follow me. Chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit, fruit that will last. So whatever you ask in my name, the Father will give you. This is my command: love each other. Love each other. My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. Church history tells us that John was the only disciple that didn't die of martyrdom. They tried, they boiled him in oil, didn't work, was exiled on Patmos, eventually comes back to Ephesus. I can't imagine being Timothy in the Ephesus church and you have Jesus's mom and John sitting in the audience to hear your Sunday service, right? But they said that from time to time they'd look back at Grandpa John, old man John, and say, John, you want to come and give us a word? This is John, Jesus' best friend. And John would get up out of his spot and come up to the front and look at everybody and go, love one another. And then go sit down. This is my command: love one another. Verse 18, if the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first. If you belong to the world, it would love you as its own. As it is, you do not belong to the world. We are not citizens of this world. You not belong to this world, but I have chosen you out of the world. That is why the world hates you. Remember what I told you, a servant is no greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will persecute you also. If they obeyed my teaching, they will obey yours also. They will treat you this way because of my name, for they do not know the one who sent me. If I had not come and spoken to them, they would not be guilty of sin. But now they have no excuse for their sin. Whoever hates me hates my Father as well. If I had not done among them the works no one else did, they would not be guilty of sin. As it is, they have seen, and yet they have hated both me and my Father. And this is to fulfill what is written in the law. They hated me without reason. So why does Jesus say this? Well, number one, just because he doesn't want them to be, surprised when all of a sudden they're getting kicked out of the synagogue, But moreover, I feel like he's doubling down on this idea of we are not called to get caught up in the systems and spaces and places of the world that we live in, or the world that they lived in, or the world that anybody lives in, right? If we are followers of Jesus, if we are marked, if we bear his name like he's been talking about, then we are called to be citizens of a greater kingdom. Not that we shouldn't get involved, not that we shouldn't be passionate about our convictions, not that we shouldn't go out there and vote, but there's only two kingdoms. There's the kingdom of heaven, King Jesus' kingdom, and there's everything else. So, be encouraged, Christian. You are an ambassador of Best Kingdom. You are a Christ colonizer, bringing the kingdom of Jesus into every place and space you're in. How? By the love you show each other and by proclaiming the kingdom. So, I'm going to end this video at 12 minutes. How about that? We'll get into John chapter 16 next time, and we will just book it right on along. Hopefully we'll get finished up here soon. Love you guys. Thank you so much.